audience. Hello, speakers. We're missing out. There we go. Hey, Zach. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, audience. Happy Thursday. Today's Thursday, right? Almost weekend. So excited about the weekend. Audience, I'm going to do a quick icebreaker with my speakers here. And while I do that, please go ahead and go to the chat and tell us where you're calling from. We'd love to know where you're calling from. And also, that's going to inform a little bit of my icebreaker. So, my icebreaker for my speakers today is: are hot dogs sandwiches? And I am going to start with Zach. Zach, what do you think? Hot dogs are sandwiches?
I don't know. That's a really tough one. I'm going to say no. I
No?
know there's bread, but I'm gonna go with a hard no.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. What about you, Jamie?
Well, they're a food group unto its own, right? So I'm
Yeah,
from Chicago, and it is not a sandwich. It is not It is not a whatever else it is. It's a hot dog. It's got neon green relish, no ketchup, celery, salt, and mustard. And you can add some pickles and things of that nature. But if you do it any other way, it's not a hot dog.
that's fine. Very, very purist of you. What about you, Jason? Are hot dogs sandwiches?
No, not a sandwich. Being a New Yorker, tons of great delis in New York. Can you get a hot dog? Yes. Is it under the sandwich menu? No. It's on the board, not under the sandwich menu.
That makes sense. I had a speaker once before that said if the marketing is good, everything can be a sandwich, right? But yeah, awesome. We have people from everywhere. We have people from California, Colorado. Oh, somebody said hot dogs are calzones. Hey, Caitlin. That's funny. But let's kick things off here. So we are here today to talk about the winning playbook, AI-powered strategies for a championship pipeline with these awesome panelists. I am so excited about the amazing content that you're gonna get today, audience, and the key takeaways for this event. Today's event is brought to you by the team at Modern Sales Pros. My name is Eduardo. I am a community events manager at Modern Sales Pros. And my goal here is very easy, is to make sure that everyone gets the most out of this session. If you're not familiar with Modern Sales Pros yet, we are the largest and highest quality community for those in sales management, sales leadership, sales and revenue operations, and sales enablement, aka our Modern Sales Pros. And our mission is to create an environment for our members to answer the toughest revenue questions out there. We have 35K members, and with that amount of people helping you, I am pretty sure no questions will be left unanswered and no problems will be left unsolved. And you can get help through live sessions like this one you're about to experience. We have a robust online forum. We have in-person events, which we're coming back to doing this year, which is very exciting. And we also host quarterly summits. And talking about summits, we have a summit coming up next week. We have Camp Modern Sales. It's going to be really, really fun. We have more than 30 speakers, 17 sessions for you to attend. It's going to be more than 3,000 sales nerds in attendance. So you can get a lot of information from there. I just dropped a link in the chat so you can go ahead and sign up for this summit. If you're not already part of the MSP team, you will be asked to join right after this session. So enough about other events. Let's focus on this one. I have some housekeeping notes. This event is being recorded, so you will be able to access the recording right after we are done here. And please, please, please use the chat and the Q&A panel on the right-hand side to ask a lot of questions to our speakers. We have 3 specialists in here with this amazing topic, so I know you have questions. Ask them, and the panelists will be happy to answer. And one thing about MSP I didn't mention is that we have amazing partners. And today we have People AI here sponsoring this event. My 3 speakers that will start pretty soon, they're from the company. If you want to learn a little bit more about People.ai, just click the button, request a demo with our sponsor at the top of this page, and also visit the booth. They have some amazing resources there for you. Finally, let's hear from the speakers. I have Jason, Zach, and James here to talk about pipeline and AI. Jason's going to be our moderator. So, Jason, why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm really excited to be here and share the stage with some of my colleagues and friends. To introduce myself, I'm a born and raised New Yorker, now living outside of Philadelphia. I've been in the SaaS space for nearly 15 years. I spent 10 years at Sprinkler from its inception through its IPO. and I'm proud to be at People AI now for just about a year and change. And I lead the East Coast team for the company.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. James, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, Jamie Kearney, VP of RevOps here at People AI. I also been here about 2 years now at People AI. Before I was a customer of People AI at a company called Flexera, which was a enterprise IT asset management company. And before that, I was at a company called Career Builder, which was a large ad sales network running different iterations of revenue operations for the most part.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And finally, Zach, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you might be logging in from. Zach Sikora, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at People AI. I've been here almost 4 years. Like Jamie, I was a customer beforehand at a company called App Dynamics. This was bought by Cisco, and I've been in some sort of sales role for, I'm ashamed to say it, but almost 23 going on 24 years now. So I'm not as young as I used to think I was, but excited to be here and excited to participate in the conversation.
It is just because you started early. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm going to leave the stage and I'm going to leave the conversation for the three of you. Have some fun. I'll be back later for some outro notes, but it's now time for you, Jason, to take the mic and start the conversation with Jason, Zach, and James. All right. I'll see you later.
Perfect. Thanks, Eduardo. All right, boys. Well, let's get into it. So we're here to discuss AI strategies pertaining to pipeline and revenue. There's tons to unpack. So let's get started. So Zach, let's start with you.
Yeah.
AI is everywhere, and it's a topic in every conversation in every industry. And how people define AI can really run the gamut.
Yep.
Talk to us about how you think about AI related to revenue.
Yep. So, the first thing is you're absolutely right. AI is a big buzzword right now. And then I think with all the publicity ChatGPT has gotten and different folks using it to write papers or draw pictures of cats or whatever it may be, there's even more excitement about it. But the real thing that I don't think I really knew until a couple months ago is AI has actually been around for a couple decades in different forms and formats, like rule-based automation, for example, things in revenue we might think of as lead scoring and some of those different things where data is trying to predict. So when I think about revenue, and I think about AI, I think of it in two separate ways. There's what I call autopilot, and there's what I call copilot. So for revenue and autopilot, to use that term, I think of it as how does it automate mundane tasks so us sellers can do what we want to do, be in front of customers, be strategic, close deals. So that can look like things like automating emails or contacts into Salesforce, or recording calls and giving different signals, or a number of different use cases people probably know. But they're just things that make us more efficient and more productive. Where I think it gets really exciting, where the world's going with generative AI, is the next thing, which is copilot. Right? It's not going to take the jobs of all the great folks online here, but it's going to make us be better, make us be more efficient. Maybe it's going to signal something based on all the data at the company that we're at of wins and losses, that here's the next best step or action. So when I think of AI, I kind of put them in those buckets. And I think there's different ways to skin the cat in your own sales organization, your own day-to-day, depending on whether it's auto or copilot.
Love it. Thank you, Zach. Jamie, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that Zach just said there. I think it allows you to do more with less. I've been in the data space for a very long time, looking at big swaths of data, and AI is really about all the data that you have. How can you process that and bubble up insights when you're not able to look at the data? I think that's where AI is really is moving towards. Is it's going to start bubbling up insights, and the better you are at gathering complex data and lots of it, the better the AI is going to be and help you produce and do more with less. I think big analytical teams that have been out there that you've invested a lot of money in, and ask the analytical team to say, tell me what you see. A lot of that is going to be automated, co-piloted, and maybe your huge investment in 50 analytics people might be 30 analytics people because 20 of them could be handled with, AI.
Yeah, for sure. So lots of hype, right? In general, and then it's like, hey, was it traditional AI versus Gen AI, right? Is it autopilot versus copilot, and how do we all do more with less? So it's a good start, boys. Let's keep going. Number two, all of us in this room are in some capacity selling or supporting sales folks. And generating pipeline is more challenging than it's ever been. Can you share some real world examples of AI powered strategies that have proven to be effective in improving pipeline? Zach, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and Jason, this is one of the things I think you introduced to us at People AI that I think everyone can take advantage of. Day one is using things like ChatGPT and Bard to learn more about your customers, right? Today's world, we need to be more personalized about our customers. There's a lot of noise out there. So he or she who can actually understand what their customer or prospect does and then be able to relate their own product to how they can drive value, I think sticks out in today's world. So being able to use something like a Chat GPT or a Bard to be able to say, what does such and such prospect do? Simple things like what messaging, if you're from company XYZ, would this customer likely pay attention to? What is their strategy? What is their initiatives? Being able to gather that to help, crack the code in pipeline at the very top of funnel, I think is one really simple way that people can take advantage of. When it comes to other things, I mean, it can get pretty sophisticated and pretty complex. Intelligent lead generation, prediction around forecasting, process optimization. So depending on who you are and whether you're in the ops role, whether you're in the sales role, there's a lot of different things you can take advantage of. But I always say start simple, right? Just being able to understand your customers using Gen AI to help you collect all the data that's out there so you can be more thoughtful about your outreach is a great way to start using AI to tackle your pipeline build and execution.
Jamie, what would you add?
Well, so I would add on a different spectrum, monitoring the pipeline, right? So Zach's going to be focused on creating the pipeline. I think where AI is going is it's going to help you monitor pipeline when somebody can't look at it. Meaning like in the past, pre-AI, if a leader wanted me to do some sort of insight, they had to either call me or we had to set up a cadence so I could continually look at that, or someone on my team can continue to look at that data. We can now turn things on so that it's constantly being there and bubbling us to issues of, oh, you said this is going to close, but procurement has not been involved like you said it was. Oh, this was going to happen. All of those bubbled insights can happen when you don't need an analytics person around.
Yeah, 1,000%. Zach, you raised intelligent lead generation. You talked about sales kind of predictability, on the forecast. The process optimization is a big one for me. Can you double click into the sales process optimization piece a bit more?
Yeah, when you think about the different stages that are out there, there always can be bottlenecks in your stage, in your content, and a number of different things. So, AI has the ability to look at what your reps are doing throughout their sales process and figuring out by looking at close rates and different things like that, like what are the pieces that are working? I think one of the really simple example is we think about all the different content out there, using AI to be able to look into your LMS or your CMS and saying, this content was used in this stage and we have a higher win rate or the deal accelerates, are great ways to think of process optimization and the different things that can be used within it.
Oh, yeah. Highly.
I think everybody out here on this call has probably got a lot of content at their disposal, but when to use the right piece of content in this example at the right time, I think that's the one that we're always kind of a little. So if you could have some, smarter intelligence out there looking across all the different opportunities and deals to be able to say you have a higher probability, that's where it gets exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jamie, let's toss this one to you. I know you pour over lots of data. You interface not just with your friendly sales colleagues and Zach and myself, but with our finance org, with our marketing org, and others. What are some insights and trends that may not be immediately apparent that you've discovered through AI?
Well, what I've really noticed is, and I liken this to pre-AI and post-AI, it's sort of the same story. Before AI was around, and it's been around for a while, but before generative AI or where it's actually producing you insights, you had to have a team look at the data and tell you what's going on. A lot of times it would be a sales leader or a finance leader saying, hey, this doesn't look right. Can you take a look at the data? And then it would be gather all the data up and do these ad hoc projects to sort of say what, either say what we already know or come up with some sort of insights. You can remove a lot of that work from a person so that no offense, a sales leader might not be a data guru, can go to this chat GBT or this AI infrastructure and say, deliver insights on this data set based on the rules that maybe an analytics person says these are the rules we want to do. And that can then drive insight from you so that ad hoc doesn't have to go through and waste a lot of time. So I think what's happened is pre-AI, it used to be purely people related. Post-AI, it can be more automated. I think what's also rather interesting, I've written comp plan letters using ChatGPT, helping me write certain things. I'm a data guy. I'm not very well written, but people wouldn't know that if I use ChatGPT. They would know that if they get me sending you Slack messages and emails, that I kind of write broken English a lot of times because I'm constantly thinking about 12 different things in my head. ChatGPT helps me organize that.
Jamie, I thought English was your best subject.
I am mostly great at that. 80% of the time, I'm good at that 40% of the time.
All right. There's a question from the audience, Jamie.
Yeah.
And they asked, are you using the AI tools embedded in your CRM or are you layering an external tool to do so?
Well, that's kind of, yes, I am using an AI tool that's embedded into our, I live and breathe in our own tool, which is embedded into our CRM. I personally, the reason why when I was buying tools at a company called Flexera or other companies, the first thing I would always say is it embedded in my CRM? And if they said yes, but it was really iframed in, it was a no-brainer. I'm not going to invest in that because I want my reps and I want the reps and everyone in the organization to use one tool, not go to 5 different places to look at analyses off of that.
Sure.
So I don't want it iframed in. I want it embedded in. I want it to live inside the CRM. That was number one. And so that's why I bought People AI and I'm using it every day here as much as possible.
Yep. So go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say if I had an opinion on the question about will AI replace Medic or Spin, wanted to address that one when it's appropriate. Well, I got an opinion for sure.
No time like the present.
No time like the present. I don't think it will. Right. Going back to the idea of Copilot, I think there seems to be fear out there from some people that AI is going to replace my job. And I don't think in our lifetime it will. What we do, there still requires EQ, especially if you're talking to multiple buyers about complex solutions. So when you think about something like a Spin or a MedPick, if you're not having live dialogue with your customer and understanding, I'll just use the MedPick vocabulary, what a champion is, why they're a champion, what their process is. I don't think machine intelligence is going to be smart enough to do that in our lifetime, but it might be able to give you signals back to the idea of Copilot. So if I say Jason Fishkine's my champion, AI might be able to say out there, well, he's never been a champion in another deal that this company's had, or based on his title or his tenure at a company, that might be a low probability. So it might be able to help us qualify and tweak things, but I don't see it being a replacement to the sales functions that we do every day because it cannot replace EQ that at least I've seen today, but who knows where it'll go in the future.
I think the only thing it could help is everyone comes up with their own template on these processes of what they want reps to fill in. I think AI can help populate some of that stuff for a rep on their behalf. And that's not as spitting back analytics, but it could make you more efficient in your sales process.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think there was a follow-up question on the, do you want me to jump on that? On the
Yeah. Follow-up
What's
question
embedded in
was the difference between what's embedded in Salesforce and an iframe. That's right.
Okay, so there's a lot of tools out there that look like they live inside Salesforce. And the difference really is the data. Is the data living inside Salesforce as if a rep or a sales leader put it into Salesforce manually, or is it living and looking like it appears inside Salesforce? And that is a huge indication, because what that means is, from a data perspective, in most cases, you're then going to need to take that data that lives in an iframe and merge it with your CRM data and come up with a whole nother dashboard or an area that combines those two together. So iframes make it seem like it's in there. Embedded means it's in there, and you can pull all that data live from your CRM and not need an analytics team and a data lake and things of that nature.
Perfect. Let's move on. I saw another question come in, and we'll address that one and some others in a few moments. Zach, before I had you unpack a little bit about sales process optimization, but one of my favorite topics is always streamlining pipeline efficiency. So you and I have this one a lot, but can you share some best practices for how you streamline pipeline efficiency using AI?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things. A couple that come to mind is, look, I think there are great tools out there like conversational intelligence. When you think about streamlining pipeline, I think about understanding to make our people more productive and efficient. Are they getting hung up on objections? Are they using pricing at the right point in time? AI can help you figure out where in the sales process there might be bottlenecks, and whether it's top of funnel, mid funnel, or the bottom of the funnel. AI can help give signals that might help drive more deals larger, or might help you get through bottlenecks. I think AI is great understanding, your buyer circle or your buyer group, and understanding things like, hey, we know based off the historicals for you at your company to close this size of deal, you need 6 personas in it, and you only have 3, and they're all lower seniority. So again, I think it comes back to, how can AI help you find things to be more efficient and accelerate deals and de-risk deals? Those are 2 that really come to my mind, Fish.
Awesome. I'm in violent agreement. Zach, Jamie, anything to add?
Yeah, I really am excited about where this is going, right? So in my
This
opinion,
conversation or the topic in general?
just the topic and this part of the conversation, right? Conversational intelligence, I look at AI and where it's going to end up being is really help with enablement, especially when you, as a co-pilot, while you're talking to a rep or something like that doesn't have as much skill in your solution as you can. If you can have AI go alongside and basically read the transcription of what's going on in real time, and let's say a CRO or a CIO asks a very tough question, you can use that AI to sort of tee up answers to help the rep, hopefully not a scripted answer, but like tee up bullet points to help the reps maneuver through the value that everyone's selling on, and help them get through those questions. I think that's going to be amazing if we can get there. We're working towards that, and that will really help enablement do more with less, and help get reps to sell more quicker. Right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
One thing I'd love to add on to it, we're talking a lot about AI and the benefits it'll give to reps. Maybe it's a secondary benefit, but I'd almost change it. The benefit to sales leaders, it's going to help. So we think of conversational intelligence, or we think about other AI that might point out next best actions or gaps in the deal. I think one of the trends we've seen over the last 12 months is leaders' span of controls, meaning how many people they have to lead, has grown bigger and bigger. And so therefore they have less time with the reps. And so when they sit down at a one-on-one or a strategy session, a lot of that, and I think it's the burden that a lot of reps get really annoyed about, is like, don't ask me 20 questions about my deal, But on the leader side of it, they have 7 reps they have to try to lead. So being able to have signals to come in and have a value-based conversation, so it's productive and it's thoughtful and it's actually moving the ball forward instead of marching in place, I think that's a great opportunity for AI as well. So that those types of sessions are really value driven, and it's really driving an outcome, which at the end of the day, what we want is closing more business.
Yeah. I had to unlearn before I joined. I had to unlearn and then learn kind of how to use the AI data that I see as part of the technology all day long. So I'm with you all day on that, Zach. Dr. Oliveira asked the question. He said, can you elaborate on what AI brings that's new to the sales process? So is marketing gaining ownership in the early stages of the funnel due to more analytics or an automation? Or are there other things? Maybe Jamie, you want to address the marketing and analytics piece? I know you're in depth in that on our side.
Yeah, I am. Well, I think what AI is going to help us do is there's always been this wall between, no matter how you organize yourself, there's always been this wall between marketing and sales. Here's a lead, I threw it over a wall. Reps aren't calling on these leads and all of that stuff. But that goes on at every company. I think what AI is going to help us do is use the lead information and help us migrate through the entire story using ChatGPT to help bring that, break down that wall and make it so that we have a full understanding of the customer and buyer journey. And what I mean by that is obviously it's reverse. Buyer journey is not a customer yet. We need to make sure that the buyer doesn't feel any type of hardship in terms of becoming a lead, to talking to a rep, to talking to a BDR, and then customer, they've got to feel a different journey and all of that. And it breaks down all of the walls and silos that are out there.
Yeah. When I think about bringing AI into the sales process, maybe it's not the early stages from a marketing perspective, but later, it's also just how do we become a lot more, to Zach's point, a lot more value-based in our conversations and what we talk about each day, right? Like I'm not spending my time with my reps rehashing. I have a lot of information, right? But Zach, anything to add to that part of it that would be more on AI along the sales process?
Yeah, I guess my answer is a bit of it depends, because the one thing I think I've realized over my career is every sales stage or every sales process is different in some way, shape, or the form. That they're a bit unique. They might have the same number of stages, they might have the same vocabulary, but the way that people within the company and their own sales process and culture is all a little bit different. So there's opportunities for AI to make every sales stage more efficient, like you boys have demonstrated and acknowledged. But in the same sense, I don't think AI is one size fits all for every company. It's going to depend on, are you a velocity sales motion? Are you an enterprise sales motion? Do you have multiple segments? Are you international? So there's opportunities to make everything more efficient and more effective, but there's not going to be like in this stage, AI is going to be 100% perfect. I think it's too new. So I think there's going to be trial and error, and we're all going to learn throughout this about what's the best use cases, crawl, walk, run for each of our specific companies.
Yeah, totally. Two things. So I want to move to the next topic. Sue, I saw you ask the question. I'm not really sure. Two parts. If you want to retype it, by all means. But Zach, you were just hit on was the depending on the situation you're in, it would depend on how you'd approach AI along your sales process. I think the next question I want to ask you dovetails nicely into this. And I know you speak with lots of CROs and senior ops folks, as do you, Jamie, as part of your day-to-day. I know they ask you advice for when they're considering AI to grow revenue, and like, hey, give me some advice. Like, where do I start? How do I not get over my skis? Like, tell me.
So again, I'm sorry, I'm going to date myself, but I feel like AI today is like cloud was 10 or 15 years ago. You just asked every executive, do you want cloud, or now do you want AI? And they'll go, yeah. And then you're like, where are you going to start? And they're like, we're trying to figure that out, right? Because there's so many different possibilities. So, the best advice I can give for what we've been trying to do at People AI internally, as well as customers, is it's a crawl, walk, run. You got to find a use case where you think you can get some quick wins, depending on your function. If you're an ops, there might be a different use case than if you're in marketing or you're in sales. Jason, once again, to give you credit, I think one of the ways that we started getting our reps thinking about, one of the examples I gave earlier was when we have pipeline generation sessions, which is trying to break into new accounts, we get our reps together and everybody pulls out ChatGPT or Bard, and we say, I want to get into XYZ account. And everybody starts prompting at different questions to start get ideas and get the information flowing. So all of a sudden it's a little bit communal and people are trying, and those folks that maybe haven't done it before feel like they almost have a safe place to start playing around with it and learning without maybe feeling silly like they don't know. So I don't have, again, a one size fits all or a recipe book of where to start, but think of low hanging fruit of where AI in your business can show some quick wins to get everybody more curious and more excited about it. And then I think it starts growing and growing and growing. And people will start just coming to work the next day saying, have we thought about using it here? Have we thought about using it there?
Sorry. Fully on board. Sorry. I don't know how that happened. Fully on board. Jamie, anything to add to that?
I think I do. I'll date myself as well, but I think people are throwing the name AI on everything that they can to try to sell something. And people are going to want to use AI for everything. If you have 10 pieces of data, your AI is worthless. You need a lot of data, right? So doing things for prospecting when there's free form internet out there and things of that nature, that you can gather a lot of data. If you're using it internal, the way I use it, you got to have enough data to make it worthwhile. So chat or any type of AI is not worthwhile on a small section of data. So at the end of the day, it's all about the data.
Yeah. So Noah, you asked I think a really pertinent question right now for the moment. You said, how are you educating yourselves in the new developments and functionality of like business and sales focused AI? And I'll give credit to Zach as our chief revenue officer. I'll take some of this, but I want your take too as well, Zach. And I think a lot of it comes down to what's the culture you create around people just trying new things, right? And not being afraid to bring an idea and just try something, So we talked about this before. It's never been harder to go create new pipeline, just given the macro and other elements. And someone comes to a team meeting or a company meeting and says, hey, I have you seen this? I saw that. And we'll all just sit down and throw ideas at it. We'll just try it. Some work, you throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. Sometimes it doesn't, but I think that comes down to openness and the culture from a team. Zach, anything to add on that?
No, I think it is. You got to be curious about AI and where it can play. To Noah's point, I was at a breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and this was a big topic that I think every business is thinking about. What are the new skill sets? How are we going to have to enable our people? Where does that sit? Does it sit in go-to-market in enablement? Your AI specialist? Does it sit in ops? Because someone needs to be looking over the entire go-to-market organization and trying to figure out, back to my comment of crawl, walk, run, or bringing it in stages, go-to-market organizations need to start thinking about adding that. So CROs, CMOs are going to need to think about new titles and new skill sets. And it could be someone that's already on your team that wants to do their own career advancement and wants to take that on. But it's going to open new opportunities, new functions that are going to allow for companies to really leverage this technology. So you have to have people that are open to thinking about that and trying the different things that you just talked about, Fish. And some of them are going to crash and burn, and some of them are going to create great yield. It's just going to have to be something we're going to have to work through.
Yep. All right. Speaking of crashing and burning or trying to get great yield, let's talk about sales forecasting accuracy. Fun topic for everybody. Near and dear to the three of us on the panel here. What do you think give me your take on the impact of AI on sales forecasting accuracy, and how can it enable organizations to make better, more informed strategic decisions?
You want me to go first, Jamie?
Sorry.
So when I think of forecasting, I think that there's a couple different dimensions. There's probably what a lot of us are used to here, which I'll call a bottoms-up forecast. You're an AE, you're a first-line leader, you're whatever in between. You have to make some sort of judgment call that says, based on number of meetings, the conversations I've had, things like that. Maybe you use MedPick or some other sort of qualification methodology That's never going to go away, and that's really needed. But I think the other thing where AI could start becoming interesting is what I'll call maybe a tops down or an activity based type of forecasting, where it's going to take all the different data across the different sales campaigns that have been run and marked as win or loss, maybe in your CRM, along with your marketing data and all the other sources it has. And it's going to start making judgments again. So Zach Sikora says this deal is in best case, but based off probability analysis, we actually think this deal should be in commit because it's got the right type of time in between meetings, for example. It's got the right number of personas. You're already talking to procurement earlier in a stage than other deals. So I think where it comes into forecast accuracy is it's going to be another lens or another dimension that's going to say, let's not dismiss what that rep and those people that are talking about every day is, but let's look at it to make sure we have, multiple visions into this deal, because every deal is so important. It's also going to be really interesting, and not in just new business, but I also think like churn forecast sales, because it'll be able to take data sets in from maybe your product usage data, along with the last time you met with a customer and saying, hey, product usage data is trending down and no one's engaged with the customer in quite a while. Hey, CS team, red flag here. This might actually churn. So when I think about forecasting, there's different dimensions that I think it can be really interesting, both on new business as well as also retaining your existing revenue.
Yeah, Jamie, you're spending a lot of your time telling Zach and I about what's going on in our world. What say you on this topic?
So forecasting, right? It's for every ops person out there, where there's a lot of them, it's the bane of everyone's existence, right? The reason being is, and this is where I think AI, and this is one thing that people AI focuses a lot of its attention on. Forecasting, by the time you're forecasting an enterprise deals take 6 to 12 months, depending on your sales cycle, right? You're basically forecasting and talking about a deal on a weekly basis, either in the last 1 to 3 months of their 6 to 12 month journey. And then typically what happens on that weekly basis is you're talking about the big accounts, and we're spending a lot of time on the big accounts, and you're sort of glossing over a lot of the smaller accounts, right? And so therefore you might be missing a bunch of things in the smaller accounts because you don't have the time or the hygiene to do everything. So one problem is you're only focusing on the last quarter of the pipeline or of the entire journey, buying journey. And then you're only really, scrutinizing the top deals. So you could have death of 1,000 paper cuts because the small deals just aren't coming in. And then there could be missteps early on that come to light right at the end of your sales cycle. What AI can do is, instead of looking at the forecast, it can look at your entire pipeline from the inception, so that one of the big hot words is, I need to create pipeline. Well, yeah, I can yell at a rep and say, create 500,000 of pipeline this quarter. And tomorrow, before AI, they can go in and say, I think this deal is worth 500,000, and they can make up who they're talking to. Well, AI automating all the manual tasks and things of that nature and using all of that sort of limits the rep from, and I know you guys don't do this and never have, putting
No
in.
one has either.
No one. But it allows you to sort of do hygiene on your pipeline from the beginning all the way through the end, no matter what the size is. And it can constantly be working on your behalf to make sure that your pipeline is crisp, well engaged, and engaged with the right people at all times.
Yes. So it's a good conversation. I'm sure we could have an entire hour just talking about sales forecasting around AI. So you came back with, thanks for clarifying the question. So Zach, I'll pose this one to you, because I know you and I and Oleg were in a room talking through this. Or he went on mute. Oh, there we are. Sorry. So the question was how well do current chat GPT or AI systems we use for sales intelligence, how useful are they on a single company you might be interested in when looking at for a deal? And how dependent are you at this stage in just falling back on a Google search, for instance? So,
sorry, was that to me?
That was to you. I can take
Sorry,
it.
I cut out for a second. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So how well is ChatGPT or Bard, for instance, working when you're working on trying to find information about a single company versus just looking back at a generic Google search?
We've been playing with that a lot internally right now. We've actually found that Bard is better because their data is a day old. Sort of some of the feedback I've been getting from a number of our AI engineers here at People AI is if you want to create something like a paper or a document or something like that, ChatGPT is actually better. If you want facts about a company because Bard is a day old and more relevant, that like you ask a question, you want an answer, Google Bard is actually better. So it comes back to it's all public data across the web. If it's a private company, the data may or may not be as good depending on what articles are out there. But the both tools are very good. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to create a PowerPoint, I've been playing around more with personally. I've been playing with ChatGPT, and you get some of the plugins, and man, it'll create pretty PowerPoints for you. If you want just fact-based, you need to maybe put in an account plan or something like that about what does Chevron do, and based off their last 4 earnings calls, what are their upcoming strategies? I think that gives you a little bit better data just because it's the most current.
Totally agree. It's also a matter of making sure you are thoughtful and pragmatic on your prompts, right?
Yeah, I think the prompts are actually as important, if not the most important, as the actual provider that themselves. The better you get with the prompt, the better the outcome and better the yield that you get.
Totally. All right.
I think that does sort of lead into Jonathan's question, which was autopilot. Like how can you autopilot on your prospecting soon? I think that is going to be really dangerous, right? If you think you can, instead of having a person or any of that stuff, just constantly send emails out to prospects and things of that nature using ChatGPT or Bard, you're going to run into a lot of problems. One, with spam, and two, it's a co-pilot. It is not the pilot, right? And you've got to be cognizant of that. There are certain keywords that I look for in any email I get that I know was generated from generative AI. I'm not going to tell you what those are because the people that are hitting me up will try to remove those, because I've had people in our company remove those words that ChatGPT uses quite often to glorify their own messaging.
All right. I think that kind of goes into Chris's question too about efficiency versus laziness. Look, I kind of think about it as all the same public data is out there. So someone who might be using it first might have a first mover advantage, but I think eventually it's going to catch up to them. And I also think back to this co-pilot, like why I think sales can benefit from ChatGPT and AI in general. If you're selling large, complex deals, you still have to think. You still have to take in all the information from your buyers about what their pain is, what the outcome they're trying to drive is, and be able to map your technology to it. If you want to do large strategic deals, and you're going to have a leader, hopefully, that's going to be working there shoulder to shoulder with you, thinking about how do we grow this deal? How do we de-risk it? So I think of it as something that's going to help you have advantage by using these different tools. But I don't think long term that you're going to be able to go on Easy Street and play golf 5 days a week and just ChatGPT your way to 200% of goal. You still have to be there. You still have to do the work. This is just something that will make you more efficient. And I also look at it like one of the things we do here at People AI is if we have an account plan, for example, there are about 6 questions there or 5 questions that if they fill out with ChatGPT, I'm okay. What was Verizon's annual revenue last year? If they want to download that, hey, God bless them, right, from ChatGPT. But I want to know how they're going to get into all 7 BUs at Verizon, and which product set are they going to be selling to which economic buyer in which of those BUs. ChatGPT is not going to be smart enough to do that. That rep and that leader and that account team have to sit down on a Zoom or in a room or wherever and really put a strategy in place. So ChatGPT is going to be an enabler, but it's not going to be just autopilot your way to success.
Absolutely. Brian just asked the question. I think it also dovetails nicely into one of the last ones I was going to ask you, which is, what are some of the key challenges organizations face when implementing AI, right? So I think what he asked was, how are you getting your IT security folks to open up a bit? But there's that element, and then there's just some broader challenges you may face. Jamie, any thoughts on that one?
I find, well, one, yes, I agree. Security is going to be the biggest problem with ChatGPT and implementing it. Where every company has their own take on security, their own perception on security, and what might be seen as secure for some might not be seen as secure from others, right? I think what's going to happen is at first there's going to be a resistance from a lot of these slower adapters, where the security person's going to be like, "Whoa, I don't want anything involved here." Hopefully a year from now, it'll be like more welcoming and understanding, and they have little idea of where the walls need to be built up. So I think that is probably the biggest hurdle that's going to eventually transition. But at first, there's a standoffishness rather than being a first mover advantage, especially from these big companies that are out there. I don't know if that answers the full question, but that's sort of where I think is the only obstacle in the way this time.
Anything to add, Zach?
Yeah. So first of all, I think where we need to think about, when you think about ChatGPT, there's two types of data that I think InfoSec teams are going to look at. The one that they're going to be probably more lenient on is the public data, kind of the use cases we talked about account plans. Hey, Google, Bard, what is Verizon's earnings call last year, and can you summarize it? That's public data. Where I think InfoSec teams are going to get hesitant is when there are technologies out there that take your own private, unique data and potentially offer that up to mesh it with the public data, because that's every company's IP or uniqueness. So I think that's where InfoSec teams are going to look. Public data, yeah, I got it. I'm sure they'll have some opinions about that. But it's really when you start tapping into the private data, as I think where those are going to be the conversations that are still new, because not many companies are doing that quite yet. But that's sort of the idea of where to go. Beyond that, I mean, I think it's like bringing in any other new technology. You need the people in the process. You got to bring it in. You have to enable your people. You have to have the right type of change management. You have to have success metrics of what it looks like. So it's no different than bringing in some ways, any other type of technology, regardless of what it is. You have to have a process that brings it in. You have to have people that run that actually drive that adoption, and you have to be able to measure the value at the end of it.
That's it, Zach. Thank you, Jamie. Also, Sue, you asked the question, and by the way, we're gonna open up to Q&A with the handful of minutes we have remaining. Sue, you asked, do you think there's a revenue opportunity in training users or building some simple training systems for reps or sales leaders on how to use these conversational systems? I think there most definitely is an opportunity there. What other question? Any other questions from the audience here? We'll give everyone a moment.
While we're waiting, I think one of the big things with automating ChatGPT or automating, AI, from a sales perspective, at the end of the day, people buy from people. When I used to be involved at an ad sales company, highly transactional, you could go to the website and buy a job posting for $400. The amount of people that would call and want to talk to someone about spending $400 was astronomical. Why? Because there's always a comfort level when I'm dealing with a Jason or a Zach rather than dealing with a robot, right? So people are always going to end up buying for people. Now, maybe they'll start buying the $400, $500 deals through a service, but how many people call into United if they're flying United Airlines and they get caught in that spectrum of click this or say your words? I don't know about you. I just hit 0 as many times as possible until I get a person on the phone, because going back and forth with the computer drives me nuts. Same thing's going to happen here, especially when you're buying stuff. So OpenAI is great. AI is great to help you with all of this stuff, but it's a co-pilot. At the end of the day, people are going to buy from the person that they met.
Perfect. So seems like the is there one more? I think we've gotten through all the. So no one asked, in your opinion, how will smaller companies or companies utilizing unsupported CRMs be able to integrate these systems and improve their workflow? Will be more on the rep level with utility in Chat GPT and Bard.
I mean, I can. You want me to jump on that?
Sure, Jamie.
I mean, your own homebrewed CRM has data. You need to feed that data into the Chat GPT or Bard that you're using, so that it can give you results. You might not be able to integrate it so it's real time, but you can always push that data into their systems, and that's how you're going to be able to use it.
Yeah, I agree, Jamie. It comes down to integration and data quality, regardless of whether it's homegrown or it's a big brand. If you have good quality data and lots of it, and you have the folks that can help you integrate it in, you'll be able to get value out of it. If the first two pieces are missing in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be a challenge. But it's going to be the challenge if you have bad data and bad integrations in a big brand name CRM as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that's irrespective of small or large, right? You've got to have data quality and the right folks on the team to help. All right, so let me recap some of the key takeaways that I heard. So first, all AI isn't just generative AI, right? We've had AI for a while, but it's certainly just top of mind now because all the Gen AI elements are very front and center. We had a conversation about autopilot versus copilot. We talked about starting simple and needing to be thoughtful in how you collect the data so you can, in fact, be more thoughtful. We talked about intelligent lead generation, sales prediction and forecasting, sales process optimization, all can be aided and powered by AI. We talked about a world where there was pre-Gen AI and post-Gen AI of, hey, you need to have a team to tell me to look at what's going on. Now that's that team, maybe I need a few less people to do it, but I can be a lot more effective since I have a lot of the data at hand. We talked about pipeline efficiency, and we're talking about how having all the historical data and just, again, good quality data will help. AI will use that data to help, whether it's pipeline efficiency, de-risk your deals. I know, Zach, you talked about AI today was cloud 10 years ago. Where to start? It's always a crawl, walk, run approach. You can't take huge bites of the apple. You got to take them one piece at a time. We talked about for the organizations and for our peers, certainly these skill sets and titles will adapt over time. Maybe some of these roles, a lot of these roles will not exist today, but they will certainly in the future for those that are really curious. Probably the right folks to go after those. And I know we talked about sales forecasting, traditionally been bottoms up, but AI can massively help from a tops down, not just around new revenue, but also churn. And then I'll close with, I think the biggest element of the day is AI requires hefty data, and having good data quality and how you leverage that data is everything. So I think that's largely a wrap on today's session. Eduardo, I want to invite you back to the stage. There he is.
Hey, that was fantastic. That was very thorough. Thank you so much, Jamie, Zach, and Jason, for the knowledge that you dropped on us today. Audience, thank you so much for attending. I hope you got some really good notes today. I had a bunch of notes. I will have to cut down my key takeaways over here to send you an email. Just as a reminder, audience, you will receive a follow-up email with the recording and the key takeaways for this session. And don't forget to check out People AI. You can request a demo with them by clicking at the button at the top of this page, and also visiting the booth that they prepared for you with some resources about AI and how to be great at your job. Speakers, thank you so much again. The MSP team will make sure that the recording is available pretty soon. And that's a wrap for this session. I hope everyone enjoys your weekend and think about if hot dogs are sandwiches or not. All right, speakers, we can go backstage. Audience, thank you so much.